I've always had a deep appreciation for the art of street performance. A lot of my closest friends are people who I met while they were on the street busking. And if you remember, the first interview I did on this channel was with a friend of mine, Niko, who spent 8 years traveling the country and performing his Magician on a Motorcycle act along the way. Well, today I want to introduce you to another magician street performer friend of mine. His name is Rogelio Flores. And what makes Rogelio's act so amazing and special is that he does the entire thing silently, which is crazy. I don't think a lot of people realize how hard it is to capture the attention of an audience when you're on the street, but to do it without using any words is even harder. So I invited my friend Rogelio to sit down with me and break his silence to talk about what it's been like for him as a full-time street performer and how things changed when the COVID pandemic hit and people couldn't form crowds anymore. I hope you guys enjoy this conversation. Let's jump right in. Okay, and we are recording. Thank you so much for joining me today.
That's okay.
For those watching, I am sitting here with my friend Rogelio, who is a street performer who specializes in a silent type of performance, which is something super unique. You're the only person I've ever met who does that type of show. So I think that's super cool. And I want to hear all about kind of your journey into performing and how it's treated you over the years. So first of all, thanks for being here. How are you doing today?
Pretty good.
Yeah, you just were you performing for the 4th of July yesterday?
No, I took the day off.
Oh, nice. You just celebrated?
Actually, no, I did work. I worked from 11 to 3, I believe. Yeah, 11 to 3. Then after that, it kind of dies down because of everybody is getting ready for the fireworks.
Yeah. How are the crowds on 4th of July? Is it a good day for it, or is everyone too distracted?
It's in the morning, it's okay, and then in the afternoon it slows down because everybody gets ready for the fireworks. So I left at 3.
Nice. Did you watch the fireworks or just head home?
No, I just head home.
Yeah.
There was a couple people in the neighborhood throwing fireworks.
Yeah.
California, it's not legal.
Yeah. So we first met, I think it was about 8 years ago now,
Yeah.
8 summers ago. It's been a while.
Yes.
Crazy how time
Time
flies.
flies.
Yeah. But how long in total have you been street performing?
Oh, Jesus. I lost the count. Well, full time, I think I've been doing this for like about 15 years, full time.
And what about like part-time before that? How do you get into it? What?
Okay, well, you want to hear the long story or the short story?
Give me
Okay.
a long story. We got time.
Okay. Well, I started by myself, learning how to do card tricks and coin tricks, and then after that, I was working at this place as a dishwasher.
How old were you then when you were first learning card tricks, coin tricks?
I was 24 years old.
Okay.
24 years old, and I was working as a dishwasher, and I worked there for 4 years. Meanwhile, I was learning tricks and coin tricks with cards, and I was doing this as a hobby. I never thought I was gonna be doing this for a full-time, job. And I used to get out from work and walk through the bay every day. And one day I saw this guy by the name of Jimmy Talksalot, and he was doing a show, and I approached and I watched the whole show, and then I thought, this is what I want to do. I was hooked, to street performing. He made it look easy, so I stopped by, watched the show, and at first he didn't want to teach me because they don't like to teach, but he saw that I was interested in learning the craft, and he he gave me a couple tests, like you bring me a rope tomorrow, I'm gonna show you a trick. Most of the guys, when somebody tells them to bring a rope, they never come back next day. So I brought the rope, and he saw that I was willing to learn, and from there he taught me how to street perform. He trained me for almost a year and a half, and then after that, I just started learning my own material by myself. And then a few years later, Jimmy left and to some other state, and I stayed there at the plaza, or what they called uh, Seaport Village, and I started doing shows there.
Nice. So when you first met Jimmy, which for those people watching, if you saw my first episode, our mutual friend Niko was my first guest, and he talked about Jimmy as well. So
Yes.
he's somebody who taught both of you guys some of the
Yeah.
tricks of the trade. What were some of the things that he taught you when he was first?
Well, at first, let's say when I was learning magic, and when I was learning a show, I was afraid to ask people for money.
Mm.
That's one of the things that Jimmy taught me, is when you ask for money. I thought that my understanding of asking for money was begging, and that wasn't the point. You see, I thought that magic was an art form, and I should just show it to people. But Jimmy opened my eyes and says, "Well, yeah, but the cards, the coins, they cost money. The materials you buy, they cost money. So y- you can pay them all. You can pay them, but it's better if you get money from people so you can keep doing what you like." And I was so scared to ask people for money, and Jimmy told me this. Look at it like a movie. When you go to the movie theater, you pay a ticket. You go inside, you watch the movie, and if you didn't like the movie, you already pay for it. There's no returning back. With us, it's different. They watch the show. If whether they like it or not, they tip you. They tip you if they like the show. If they didn't like the show, they can always just walk away. That's the difference. And so basically, I learned that it's just like watching a movie. You know, you're entertaining the passersby, and you're doing a you're doing a service, I believe.
I definitely agree as someone who loves watching performers. One of the things that makes what you do so extra difficult is the fact that you're doing it silently,
Okay.
because it's hard to gain a crowd in general. It's hard to get people to stop for you on the street, but to do so without saying any words must be extra tricky. Did Jimmy do a silent show, or
Uh,
when did you make that decision?
yeah, years ago, Jimmy told me that he would do half, like at the beginning he would do a silent show, and then he would start talking, and then he did a full show with just a spoken show. And at first, when I was doing my show, I started saying Jimmy's lines, doing his show step by step. And the reason I decided to go silent was that there's a s- there it, there's like a to a certain point where you understand that those lines are not working for you anymore, and you got to come up with your own stuff. You can't be doing your teacher's show, so you got to be unique. So I started to watch Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and all those guys. The March, how do you say it? March? Is it called Marx Brothers?
Marx Brothers.
Yeah, and one of them, I believe one of them didn't talk. One of them did not talk, and but I used to watch all this video, and it came up to me. What would happen if Charlie Chaplin would do magic? Everything would go wrong. And it would be like doing magic in a funny way. So and then I thought, well, what if I thought, well, what if I grab a silent, kind of like a silent film, a magician and a clown, and I put them all together, and this is a result. That's how I started, uh, wanting me to get into a silent show. And the other thing is that a silent show is universal. You can go anywhere and you can do a silent show, and the people don't need to speak your language. So it breaks that language barrier there is when it gets to performing. Uh, you can do a show in China, and if you don't know at the end, because at the end of the show I break character and I start hatting the people. But in China I couldn't do that. So, but this is universal. So what I would do would get every at the end of the show, if I was in China or somewhere where they didn't speak my language or they didn't speak English, I would get this tip. This tip was given to me by Bertie McLean. He's a retired Ringling Brothers circus clown, and he told me, do this, do this, and then get everybody doing the same thing, and then take out your hat and go there and do this, and put it inside a hat. They understand that. Yeah. So a lot of tips. Were Bertie McLean. He gave me a lot of tips. I can't say Bertie McLean's my teacher because they don't like to be called teachers. With Jimmy is different. Jimmy claims he's my teacher. I'm his student, so it's more personal. But yeah, that's how I started to do my build my own show.
How long was the period of time between when you started learning from Jimmy and when you made this your full-time job?
Uh, when I started to learn with Jimmy, it took me like about a year. He trained me for a year, but and I kept working as a dishwasher, and then it took me 2 years. One day I get a phone call from Ocean City, Maryland, and they told me to go over there to perform. Jimmy was over there, and I decided to quit my job. It's really scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really scary to just quit your job, especially if you have kids. And so it took me 2 years, like about 2 years to go full time. You know.
That's still quicker than a lot of people do it.
Well, Jimmy says that he says you listen. You're a fast learner. That's why.
So, what are some of the? First of all, where was it that you met Jimmy? Where were you?
I was in San Diego. I was working as a dishwasher, and then where I met Jimmy was at this place called Seaport Village.
Okay.
I was walking by and I met him.
So you started in San Diego, but now obviously you perform up here. You said you performed in China. What are some?
No, not China. I said if you were in China.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
If you were in China, you didn't speak the language.
Oh, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, there's not the cultural barrier. But what are some of the other places that you have performed over the years? Have you traveled much, or are you you have your?
Not like I have not been traveling not like I used to. Before I traveled to Maryland, Ocean City, Maryland. I traveled to Florida, San Diego, and Seattle. Those are my favorite. Seattle.
What about Seattle do you like so much? Why do you keep coming back? And how is it different from San Diego?
Okay, the difference between San Diego and Seattle, especially in the summer, is that there's no shade. If you're doing a show for 20 minutes and it's really hot in the summer, people watching your show, they don't want to be standing watching your show for 20-30 minutes in the sun. So one of the reasons I come up here, it's because of the weather. If it gets hot, it's no problem because I work at this pitch, this spot. I work at the spot where I have enough shade for me, my whole crowd. That's one of the reasons I like to come up here to Seattle. Now on the East Coast, it's really humid, so the guys over there they don't they don't work during the day. They work from like around 5 to like around 10 o'clock when the sun starts going down because of the heat.
Hmm.
With me, I like to work in the morning and go early home, so that's why I like to come up here. Basically because of the shade.
You're from Mexico City originally, is that right?
Yes, yes.
How old were you when you came to the US?
I was like about 5 years old.
Okay, so
Five.
pretty much your whole life,
Yes,
as
yes,
long as
yes,
you remember.
yes.
Have
Yeah.
you been down there since you've been an adult?
I got family in Mexico, but in Mexico City, I don't really know Mexico, the city of Mexico. I don't know it. What I do know is it's this place called Colima. It's another city in a city called Tecoman. I was there with my grandmother until I was 5 years old. My mom came and she brought me here to the U.S. That was way back when President Reagan was giving all the amnesties, and so I came over.
Fair enough. What do you think of like the street performer culture? Like it seems to be like an interesting balance between like the support that you've gotten from people like Jimmy, and then like there's also like an edge of competitiveness because you're kind of like doing the same spots sometimes. You have to like work or like coordinate with other performers to figure out who's gonna have the best spot for the day. What's that tension like, or what's that relationship like with other street performers?
Well, I try to get along with other performers. Most of the time, uh, they 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 don't bother me. They don't, I don't bother you. You don't bother me. If there's an issue, I go up to them and I talk to them. So that way we can figure out something out. There's no need to call the police or anything. We want to keep them away.
Yeah. So would you say you're mostly friends with the other performers in the scene?
If they're friendly with me, yeah, yeah.
Um, how long ago did you meet Nico? Because you knew Nico before I met you.
About the same time that I met you.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes,
not
yes.
that much longer. Did you guys also meet here in Seattle?
Yes, you see, I came up here with a friend of mine, which I'm not going to mention his name,
That's fine.
but I came up here with a friend of mine, and he was the one that brought me here to Seattle, and I he showed me that I could work at the space near the yeah the space near the Space Needle, and I met Niko, when the first time I got here, and then I went up to him and I said, "Can we share the spot?" And he agreed, to share the spot with me. And then after that, I started talking about Jimmy. He's like, "No way!" He says, "You know Jimmy?" I said, "Yeah." Like, "Oh yeah, I know Jimmy." So everything, if it works like this. If you know Jimmy and there's another performer that knows Jimmy, and you guys, you both do shows, you guys get along. So just
It's a small world. It
yes,
must have been a pretty trippy moment when you
yeah,
both
because
realized.
Jimmy, he's like way down there in San Diego, or sometimes he'll be in New Orleans, or at the East Coast. So, but I guess Nico goes to New Orleans. I believe that's where he met Jimmy. So that's why maybe, yeah, Jimmy's from New Orleans.
Uh, so you mentioned you have kids.
Yeah.
What's it like having to spend your summers away from them? Is that like one of the harder parts of the job?
Yes. Well, not too much because it's only 3 months out of the year. I only when I leave for only 3 months, June, July, and August, and then I go back in September, and I spend the rest of the year with my family. Uh, they're just like, go away. But they get sick and tired of my tricks. I already know my tricks, so they're like, no, dad. You know.
um, let's see here. Um, What was it like for you when COVID hit?
Oh, okay. Yeah, when COVID hit, it was kind of really difficult for me. They closed all the parks. I couldn't get, we were not allowed to have crowds. Um, so I had to quit. I quit, not too much, but I left Magic and I decided to start using Uber or Lyft as to gain some kind of income. And I lasted for 3 months, and then I was back in the street performing. The way I did it, was the parks were closed, so I went to the median. Have you ever seen those guys with the signs, where it says, we'll work for money or stuff like that? Well, the difference between me and them, that I was doing magic, and I had a sign that said "Magic Show." And I would stay there in the medium. I had cars passing this way, cars passing this way, right like in the middle of the street, like they do in Mexico. And I would do tricks and juggle, and the windows would just roll down. People would just giving me money, and next thing I know, I was making more money in the median than I was making in the park.
Wow.
Yeah, I was making more money in the median than I was making in the park. So I stood there, started to starting to see different spots where I could work, and I started moving from median to median, different little places. A friend of mine used to work there. His name was uh, Joe Spelton. He used to work the median. Somebody told me that he got hit by a car on the median. Yeah, you can probably make more money in the median, but the only problem being in the median is it's too risky because you can perform right, but if there's a bad driver out there and you get hit, that's it. Um, but I lasted 9 months in the median, and then the parks start when a year went by, and they had this Visine. Everybody started using shots and everything, and little by little it has been going back to normal. Now some places, I remember where you couldn't go inside a place without wearing a mask, but now it's optional. And most of these places are optional.
People feel more comfortable in
Yes.
crowds
So
again.
it's not like it used to, but little by little it's starting to go back to normal.
I think it's interesting how your act, because it was silent, probably translated easier to being able to work in that type of environment where people are
Yes.
in their cars behind a window, but they can
Yes.
still watch your show and enjoy
Yes.
it. I
I
think
see. I
that's
didn't. I just put music, even if they couldn't hear the music because the windows were up. Uh, you see, the thing with me is like it's like I am me, and the character is a different thing. When I put music, it kind of makes me feel like it helps me get into character. So even though they couldn't hear it, I would just put music and just start performing. And yeah, it was a little bit easier because I didn't have to talk to anyone. I was already doing what I was doing, so I would just stand there and do tricks. And people would just come and tip me.
yeah. So you said it's starting to kind of get back to normal, but it's not quite how it was before. It's like,
Yeah, because the people are are still afraid of getting the virus. They don't want to get too close to you. I had to cut my show because before I would bring a kid up, and the kid would be part of my show, and I would put a little hat, put the glasses, you know, put a coin, and people when you're grabbing stuff, and they gotta grab it too. They're like, should we grab it or should we not grab it because we don't know if he has COVID or not, So I had to cut. I had to. I had like a 45-minute show, and I had to cut it down to like about 20 because I had to modify it so it would work, with this situation that we're going through right now.
Well, yeah, and especially if you're doing it when people are in their cars and stuff, then you have a very short window of
Yes,
time
yes,
to win them over, show them something that encourages them to tip you. That's
yeah,
a pretty quick window compared to stopping and seeing a
yes.
show. Um, must have been hard.
Yeah. Well, here when Joe when I met Joe back at the Seaport Village, one day he invited me to come to his spot and work at the median, because that's all what he did. He would just go and work at the median. And one day he invited me, and at first I wasn't sure about it. And once COVID hit, once COVID hit, I didn't have any choice, so I had to do what I had to do. So I went back where where he used to work, and started, working at the same spot where he used to work in different spots. And yeah, that's how that worked out. Yeah.
So you already know this, but for the audience, a few years ago, you were traveling with another street performer, Caesar,
Yes,
who
yes,
did a like a human statue act.
yes.
Um, so first question is, how did you meet Caesar?
Okay, I met Caesar at the Balboa Park back in the day. Like about what? Uh, like about 6 years ago.
And then you two traveled up here together, right?
Well, the first time I came up here, I came by myself, and then next year that year when the season was over, I went back to Seaport and I met Caesar, and he does like a human statue. He got different costumes for different characters. Someday he could be a miner, or someday he can be a flamingo, or I don't know. Um, yeah, I met Caesar at Balboa Park.
Um, One of my favorite memories from that period of time was when Caesar was explaining like why he got his passion for like being a human statue, but we didn't speak Spanish and he didn't speak English, so you were having to translate everything he
Yeah.
was saying in real time. What was it for you? What were the big differences between like traveling up here alone versus traveling up here with another performer? Was it easier? And why hasn't he come back the past few years?
Okay. The it's more difficult because when you're traveling alone, you don't have to worry about the other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. But if you're traveling with somebody special, especially like the second year I came up here, uh, I had a we had a I talked to this guy on the phone. He had an apartment for us, and when we got here last minute, he says, "Oh no, I'm not renting the room anymore," and we had to stay at this hotel. Me and Cesar were staying at this hotel. Luckily, we found a friend and he helped us out. It was you.
That was a good couple of weeks though.
Yes, yes, and yeah, and then after that, we found a place, and the place that we found, the same guy has been renting the room to us for the past 5 years or 6 years now.
Wow.
So every time we want to come up here to Seattle, give we just give him a call, and he says, "Ah, yeah, your room's ready. Come over."
That's so awesome. That's got
So
to make it so much easier, like having
yes,
that
yes,
lined up.
yes, because it's more easier when you have a place to go. You gotta have to be worrying about like what do I do. But it's if you're gonna travel, might as well just do it by yourself. Uh, unless you got a place, secure place, and then you can invite someone else. But some other performers don't like when you invite somebody else over, because some spots are good and they is like we want to keep it secret. They don't like other performers another performers coming over. Uh, but Caesar was the only one I brought over, because he's just like me. He doesn't do any problems or anything like that. With other performers, I seen a lot of bad stuff, with performers. So Caesar, he's like he's easy. He's an easy person. So that's why I didn't mind inviting him to come with me.
Yeah. What's he up to these days? Is there a reason why he hasn't come back to Seattle?
Well, actually, he's here this year.
Oh, he is.
Yes.
Oh, well,
Yes,
I
he's here.
gotta say hi to him.
Yes, he is. He's here this year. Well, when 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 the pandemic hit, he couldn't work either. So he said he says there's no way I'm traveling because there's what if I go to Seattle and it's gonna be dead, it's gonna be closed, the parks are gonna be closed, so we might as well just stay here. So that's why he didn't come. But this year he decided, he's I said, look, uh he was the one that got here first, and then a week later I got here because what Jimmy says is you send out your scouts and make they go ahead and look this, what's going on, and then he gives me a call and he says it's workable, come and work. So then I come.
Nice. You
Yeah.
got the lookout.
Yeah.
I definitely gotta go and say hi to him. I should invite him to be on here. We can do the same thing. We'll be translating live.
Translate. Yeah.
That was fun. When it comes to like your day-to-day approach, are there times of day that are best for performing? Like, I mean, you have to commute a ways to get into the city. So
Yeah.
how early do you come into the city? I think a lot of people don't realize, like, I guess just the hustle behind their average street performer.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know?
Well, I try to get out of the house like around 8 o'clock in the morning. And because I'm not driving a car, I'm taking public transportation. It takes me like about 2 hours and a half to get from where I'm staying to the Seattle Center. So yeah, it's a struggle. But before in San Diego, when I used to live in Tijuana, it was the same time, so no big deal, and no big deal for me because I was already doing it. So I don't have a problem. Some other performers though, they like to stay near the spot. With me, if I can get cheaper rent, but I gotta drive for 2 hours, I don't have a problem with that. Unless I get old, then I gotta stay closer.
So, you don't have to get specific, but while we're on the topic, I am interested on like the financial side of things. How hard is it, I guess, for you to meet your goals, or do you tend to like exceed your goals? Like when on an average week up here in Seattle, like if you set a goal for yourself, do you tend to like hit that goal pretty easy? Like what's the financial side of it like without having to get
You,
into the
you,
specifics?
you see, the thing is that I don't think about it. You see, I've been doing this for so long that I don't think about the money part anymore. Before it was like scary, it's really scary. It's like, oh, I want to know if I'm gonna make good money. I want to know if I'm gonna be able to support my family. But because I've been doing it for a while, I do an average. So when I come up to Seattle, I don't think about the money anymore. I just go ahead and perform, and
It seems to work out.
yeah, yeah. It's better than the dishwasher precision, better than the dishwasher precision that I had. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people don't even realize that. I mean, unless you're sitting and watching like a street performer in a busy area, you don't realize how much they can bring in on tips on some days. Like it can
Yeah.
be really good.
But there's also bad days.
There are also bad days.
So, but see, here's the thing. The good days make it up for the bad days.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. If you go out there and perform and your day was horrible, and it's okay. I mean, the thing I know, the way I think is like it's okay. Don't worry about it. You're probably gonna do better tomorrow or the next day. So uh, at this point, me performing for so long, I guess that doesn't really matter anymore. You know,
What would you say are misconceptions that people have about street performers?
bumps.
Yeah. You-
Bumps. Yeah, and that's good, and to a certain point, because uh, it's good because how would I say this? Sometimes they think we are like uh I don't know. Yeah, with that we are lazy or we're just bums that we can make money sometimes. Like for example, when I was standing in the medium, people would look at me and sometimes they would say, "Oh, that guy's performing. He probably wants that money for drugs or anything like that." Uh, but when the but once that started, going away, a lot of people that saw me in the medium, they would look at me at the park and it's like, "Ah, we saw you. So what are you doing here?" I says, "Yeah, this is what I do for a living." So then they understand that that was it. That I wasn't a bum out there just begging for money. I was giving them a service.
So, on the flip side, like there's a certain stigmatization that people tend to have towards street performers in a lot of cases. But what is it that you love about street performing that makes it what you continue to want to do?
Freedom to a certain point. Turn off this phone.
No problem.
There you go. Yeah, freedom to a certain point. You see, when you're working for a boss, you gotta wake up really early, and if you're late, he's gonna scream at you. You If your kids get sick and you're not allowed to leave work because your kid's sick, so when it gets to you doing it, being your own boss, the benefit about it is that you can say I can take the day off. I don't have to ask the boss. Let him know that I want to take the day off, or if you want to take a vacation, you don't have to tell a boss that. So to a certain point, your freedom. That's why I like street performing than a regular, what they call a regular job.
Yeah. Um, I have a question about like what sort of encounters have you had with like city officials? Like I think you got ticketed trying to perform
Yeah, I was
something.
put in handcuffs not long ago. Uh,
Why?
okay, and this happened in Balboa Park. Last year when I came up here to Seattle, I came up here, and then when I got back, and when I got back, there was fire lines painted on the curbs by the main pathway in Balboa Park. And one of the rangers came up to me. He says, "You can't be here." I said, "Why is that? Why is that?" He said, "There's a fire line right there." I said, "Well," I said, "that's not legit. It's not according to city code. They should be painted a red with white lettering." And he says, "No." He says, "I know that those are legit because the fire marshal came and inspected them." And so I posted that on Facebook, and that was the first time. And then the second time, he came and he says, "You gotta move again." And but this time I decided to stand my ground. I said, "Go ahead, call the cops." So the cops came over, and I tried to explain to the police that the ranger told me to move, and I tried to explain to the police that those were not legit. He said to me, "Yes," but so he told me to give me my name, so I refused. That's why they put me in handcuffs. But so finally, when they got my name, he says, well, this is not the place to fight this. If you want to argue about the fire lines not being legit, you got to go to court. And I said, oh, fine, I'll do it. Uh, I posted it on Facebook, and a friend of mine named William Dorset, he has been fighting for busker rights for quite a while now. So so he gave me a lot of tips, and I read a lot of material that he has in his blog about laws and stuff. And later 2 days later, he tells me that that he finds out that there's no public records on the city that those lines were being, you know, there was no public records of those lines being painted. And so he sent me all the paperwork, and he said to me, when you go to court, bring all this proof with you. Uh, I went to court, and but before I went to court, I sent an email message to whoever was in charge of Balboa Park, and I said, "Look, I have enough evidence to let the judge know that you're using this to your own benefit. You guys are being selective about who sets up, near those fire lanes. I got pictures, I got everything. Uh, uh, is there a way we can just cancel this misunderstanding?" And they never replied back to my message. So when I show up to court, I got to court, and the the police officer, one of the officers there, he told me, "You don't have a court today," and I was concerned because I was ready to present all my evidence, and I said, "Why not? I want to fight." And he says, "Yeah, your case has been dismissed." I say, "What do you mean has been dismissed? By who?" He's like, "Yeah, they dismissed it because they don't have enough evidence to support what they're trying to say about those fire lines." So I said, "Well, I want a written paper that says that I show up to court because I don't want any problems in the future." And uh, and that was it. I went back to I never even step a foot inside the courtroom. They just said, and because my record's clean, I went, once I had all the paperwork, I took the paperwork with me. I went to the same spot, set up, same police guy. What he was walking by, he just looked at me and just walk away. And he went and walked away, but he went and bothered the other guy, and he says, "You can't be here." And I told the guy, "Don't move. You got the right to be there." And he turned around and he was mad with me. He said, "The only reason that you're allowed to be is there is because you went to court, and he says, and there's nothing against you." He says, "Your record's clean, and that's why I don't bother you." But to be honest, I think that they're doing something wrong, but they don't want to release any information uh, when it gets like, if you go to court, and but the city don't, there's like some parts of the code that they won't release to you, that's only part of the court to see. So they know if they ticket you, that you can go ahead and do like a, how do you say, a lawsuit against the city or whoever's in charge, and they know that you're gonna win. So, and if you don't have any criminal record, they'll just leave them alone. So that's what I think that's what happened with me. They just went and just left me alone, and I went back, and I was all good. But it took time.
It's crazy that they
Yeah,
even put you in that position,
yeah,
and especially hearing that they dismissed the case because they knew they didn't have ground to stand on, but
yeah,
they still like bullied you and gave you a
yeah,
hard time and got in the way of your way of making a living and cuffed you
yeah,
over a made up rule. Like that's pretty crazy.
yeah.
So on that note, what do you think that cities could do to be more accommodating of street performers, or like in general, what changes could we make to
Well,
like
first of all, they gotta educate. They gotta educate the police officers when it gets to law. They gotta educate. I think. more education for the police officer, because at the end of the day, they're just there to work and to do their job. Most of these police guys, they just follow orders from whoever's in charge, and some of them don't even know the law. Some, because there's a law, a whole bunch. I don't think that there's a whole bunch of laws, and I don't think I don't think they can memorize them all. So I think it would be nice, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. What is it that I'm getting close to the end here, but just to lighten things up a little bit, what is it that you find important about magic and comedy? What is it that just has drawn you towards it and makes you want to make people smile and drop their jaws?
What is important? Hmm. Well, I don't know. Maybe I didn't understand the question right.
I guess just uh, what do you love about magic and comedy? What's made it the thing that you've chosen to do with your life?
What made it a thing shows, well, uh, bringing happiness to the people. A lot of people these days are so stressed out about work. Um, it makes me remind myself when I was a dishwasher. I had to do all this stuff and doing something that I didn't like and working miserable in a job. So if I can bring a little bit of happiness to people and smiles, it makes me feel that like I'm doing something in my life. So so that's what I think.
I think that's a great answer. I think that's a perfectly good answer. Well, are there any other thoughts? Are there anything else you think we should talk about, or things that I missed?
Um, no, I think we cover everything. I guess. No.
Cool. Well, do you have any do you try to gain a following on Instagram? Do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Um, Most of the time I have Instagram, but I have one follower, one or two followers, because I don't post. I try not to post a lot of stuff. And the reason for that, it's like I used to get on Facebook a lot, or sometimes I'll go into Facebook, see what people is writing, and you just log off.
Yeah.
If I think it's interesting or want to be part of the conversation, I'll post something. But I try not to try not to post as much.
You're an in-person person.
And what I mean?
You like to interact with people in the real world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, that's it. Uh, I think it's more personal.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there was this guy there was this guy they did an interview on. His name is Pepe. He's from Europe, and Pepe in one of his interviews that he had, he said that he was working for a theater, and the curtains close, and everybody goes home. But he said that out in the street, it's more personal. People come up to him, shake his hand, and tell him thank you. So that's the other reason I like the street better, because I totally agree with what Pepe said. Uh, when it gets to street performing, I think it's honest feedback. In the street, it's more honest feedback than if you're working on the theater. Yeah.
Oh, I think that's great. I think that's a great note to end on. If anybody's in the Seattle area watching this, they can stop by Seattle Center and catch your show, usually on weekends, weekend afternoons,
Normally I'm working on the summer. I work every day.
every day.
Yes,
Even better.
I take Wednesday and no, Tuesdays and Wednesdays off, and most of the time I'm there. If I'm not there, I'm probably working on some festival. I do different festivals here in Seattle, like Ballard Seafood Festival. I also do the Chinatown, International Festival. I do the Solstice Festival. Uh, I'm all over the place, doing all these little different festivals.
Awesome. Well, I love your act. You have a great show. It never fails to make me smile and laugh, even though I've seen, I mean, it's evolved over the years, but I see it every summer and I love it every summer. So,
Yeah.
anyone, if you have the chance to go see it, you should. Thank you so much. Really
Yeah,
appreciate you
indeed.
taking the time. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I really appreciate any feedback you guys leave in the comments. Hit the thumbs up if you liked the video. Hit subscribe if you want to see more interviews or conversations like this. And that's all for now. Thank you guys. See you next time.